Way now en route. Okay, brother. So President talked today, answered Posobic's question. They got Pulte and Solomon, a huge story in the NBC News about Solomon's task force, what they're finding, what they're coming out with in the next week or so, right? I'm just reporting what you see at that. You say on top of that, when evidence comes out that you've had Chinese Communist Party interference in the 2020 election, you say that immediately the president can go to a national security emergency and write an executive order that is literally Save America plus. Okay? Now, let's take those two as will happen. There'll be some stuff that comes out, I'm just saying for purpose of discussion. And you guys are drafting this right now. What is the confusing part here is what is to stop that from judicial review, for having Mark Elias run into a federal court and say, Donald Trump wants to be a dictator, this is what fascists do, and have some liberal judge slow this thing down, sir?
Well, I have no doubt that he'll try, but I don't think he'll succeed because the Supreme Court ruled on it. Yesterday, you asked me the name of the Supreme Court ruling, so I made sure I did the research today. It's INS versus Chadha in 1983. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court number is 462 US 919, and it says the only way to overcome a presidential national security emergency is not through the courts, but rather through the legislature, and it has to be a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. So in other words, in 1976, Congress passed a National Security Act law that said you could overcome a presidential national security emergency with a simple majority. And the Trump White House pushed back, took it to court, took it to the Supreme Court in 1983, and the Supreme Court ruled in this INS versus Chadha that you cannot overcome a national security emergency without a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress. So it's not my opinion. It's a Supreme Court ruling that is law for 43 years, Steve. So are they going to try and take it to court? I guess they will. I doubt Democrats ever stand by and don't fight like crazy men. We stand by and are cowards. The Republican Party, I always say, one side is evil, one side is communist, one side likes to destroy America, and the other side is cowards who stand by, complain about it, but do nothing about it. So I'm trying to come up with a way to combat it so that President Trump can institute all the Act America things that we believe in, but even more so, adding in, as an example, no machines, paper ballots. He can do that in this national security emergency, and the Democrats are not going to be able to stop it. And I mentioned on your show yesterday that I came up with this idea in 2019 based on this law, that President Trump could declare a national security emergency on the border and therefore take the money for the Pentagon budget, bypass Congress, who would not give him the money for the wall, and build the wall with the money for the Pentagon budget, the defense budget. And that's exactly what Trump did. I wrote the column, I sent it to Trump. My friend handed it to Trump. Trump said he read it. The next day he announced it, and he built the wall with the funds from the defense budget. Never did Democrats try and fight it in court because they knew they couldn't do it. They needed 2/3 vote in Congress to do it.
Hang on, because I think we declared some other national security emergencies. We're pulling all that documentation together. I'm going to talk to you after the show. We're going to have you back up. I will tell you this is getting traction. Now, we got to make sure it's legit, because I think people realize that the House and the Senate are gone. They went home. They have no sense of urgency. We're facing a civil war. They have no sense of urgency. However, I got to finish with a different topic. I just want to, because I finally got you on the show. Obama just created, I don't even know what that thing is. I can't even describe, in a polite company, can't even describe it. I don't know what that thing, the monolith, right? I think I'm watching 2001, right? A Space Odyssey, the opening scene. What do we have? You folks, if you don't know Wayne or known him as long as I have, you were a college classmate of Barack Hussein Obama when you graduated from Columbia. He's listed in his thing as he was in your graduating class, correct? Undergraduate, correct?
Supposedly he was in my class, yeah.
Oh, hang on. I'm gonna get that. And Columbia has 3 or 4. It's a very elite. It's like Harvard. It's 3,000 or 4,000 undergraduates, right? They're relatively tiny.
Yes.
And people.
Our
back
class
in
was,
those
I think,
days,
750. We had like 750 students in our class of 83.
750. And then the political government thing is another, 100 or 50, right? These are small that
Right.
small groups that over 4 years you know everybody, correct?
Right. I knew everyone. They all knew me as the only Reagan Republican at Columbia.
Now, you have told me back in the old days, Heavy Breitbart, everything like that, you wrote it up. In 4 years, you never saw Obama at Columbia, correct?
Well, he was only there 2 years. He was Occidental 2, then transferred
Yeah.
into Columbia. So in the last 2 years before I graduated, no, there was no sight of Obama. No student I've ever known at Columbia ever met a Barak Hussein Obama or a Barry Soetoro, another name he went by. No professor I know has ever seen him, heard of him, or ever seen his name at Columbia. And finally, I decided to call up Henry Graff, the #1 presidential historian and record keeper in the history of Columbia, my history professor, who I hadn't spoken to in 30 years. This is like 15 years ago. Now it's been 45 years. And I called him, and he knew me right away. He said, Wayne Root, I know you. You ran for vice president as a libertarian, which is true. I was on Bob Barr's ticket in 2008 for vice president of the United States. He knew me right away as a libertarian third-party VP. He said, I remember you from my class, and I remember you went to Columbia. I said, well, did Obama go to Columbia? And he said, I've done the research, and I have my doubts he was ever here because you could not graduate without being in my class. And he was never, ever in any of my classes. And I asked all the other professors, and no one knew him.
I'm resting my case. Hey, one last thing. Have you contacted he's got a presidential library, brother. Are you going out there and see if he can, those records should be there for people to see, Occidental and Columbia, correct? His grades, all of it?
I'm about to challenge him. I'm about to announce to the world, you've got your presidential library. Forget about the fact it's the ugliest library. It's as ugly as the Obama economy. And so I'm about to announce you got your library. It's got your records. It's got millions of pages of records. I challenge you to release your Columbia College records. There's 2 scams. Number 1, was he there? Why was he never seen? Why did he never take that class with the professor? And number 2, how did you get in when your grades at Occidental were not great? You were known as a slacker. You were known as a pot smoker. How'd you get into one of the best 3 colleges in America, which never took transfer students mid 4 years? Never. My friends tell me never, unless you were number 1 at Harvard. Never. How'd you get in? Did you jump the line as an Indonesian? Did he jump the line as an Indonesian citizen?
Yeah. The Ivies don't do it. You start day 1 or you don't get in. Wayne, real quickly, I got to bounce. Where do people go for your content, sir?
Root4America.com, all my TV shows, all my radio shows, all my podcasts, all my columns, root4America.com, all my books, root4America.com. Easy to remember. It's what I do all day, 24 hours a day. Root for America.
I'm coming back with you on this national security emergency. We're on it. Okay, and I'll come back to you. Thank you, Wayne.